The long-reigning monarch had been referenced in everything from band music videos and Beatles songs to Hannah Montana. Elizabeth II was still a newborn when she earned her first book dedication from Winnie the Pooh creator A. Milne, and only 3 years old when she landed a 1929 Newsweek cover, where she was introduced to the world as a cherub-faced Princess Lilybet. By the time of her death on September 8 at the age of 96, Elizabeth was likely the most famous person on the planet, an iconic totem instantly recognizable across generations and continents. And because her years on the throne spanned the development of modern mediums like TV and a voracious interest in celebrity and royals, Queen Elizabeth the Steady, sphinx-like symbol of Britain, has been referenced in pop culture seemingly more than anyone in her lifetime, with many homages that indicate how society feels about the monarchy at any given moment. Ahead, let's journey through the Queen's more major and peculiar pop culture milestones across the years. Hello and welcome to Royal Scandal. Please do well to like, subscribe, comment and turn on the notification bell so as not to miss out on any news updates. 1969, a Beatles tribute. The 26-second song Her Majesty, written by Paul McCartney, is included as a hidden track on the Beatles' album Abbey Road. The year the album was released, McCartney told a journalist that he wrote the little tune in Scotland. "I can never tell, how tunes come out. I just wrote it as a joke, you know." In 2002, McCartney came full circle with his tribute when he performed the song at Buckingham Palace Gardens for the Queen's Golden Jubilee concert. After performances from Elton John, Brian Wilson, and Eric Clapton, among others, McCartney took to the stage, opening with Her Majesty. Afterward, he shrugged, "I had to do it." 1969, the royal family fiasco. The Windsors' attempt to insert themselves into pop culture was not so successful. In 1969, the family released a documentary featuring footage of them barbecuing, having tea, and spending time together. But the film backfired in epic fashion, with critics decrying the royals' privilege and out-of-touch sensibility so much that Queen Elizabeth reportedly banned the documentary after its initial airing. The Crown creator Peter Morgan brought this disastrous chapter full circle pop culture-wise 50 years later in 2019, with a dramatic storyline in the brilliant Season 3 episode Boobikins that made the royal family seem sympathetic in respect to the documentary and established princess and as the all-knowing royal family member who hated the idea of the documentary from the jump. "I always thought it was a rotten idea," she said. 1977, God Save the Queen. The Sex Pistols have denied that their controversial 1977 track and anti-monarchy anthem, on the album Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols, was specifically written about and titled for Queen Elizabeth, but the cover and memorable release stunt, staged aboard a boat called the Queen Elizabeth during the Queen's Silver Jubilee, suggest otherwise. The single's record cover appeared to be a portrait of the Queen herself with her eyes and mouth covered by the band name and song track written out in ransom note font. The band's manager, Malcolm McLaren, devised a provocative press stunt booking a boat named for the monarch and coordinating a trip down the Thames 2 days before the Queen was supposed to make a similar procession. The band members drank beer, blared "Anarchy in the UK" from speakers as the boat passed the House of Parliament, and were eventually swarmed by police boats that brought the concert at sea to a dramatic halt. Later that year, the BBC banned the song entirely, calling lyrics like "God Save the Queen" / "She Ain't No Human Being" a display of gross bad taste. 1984, Spitting Image. A somewhat punk attitude toward the Queen extended on the small screen with Spitting Image, the popular British ADS show satirizing the royal family with puppet caricatures. The royal family weren't the only Spitting Image targets. The series also lampooned Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan among others. But the show's crude attitude toward the royals, particularly the Queen, marked a cultural tidal change toward the monarchy. The Queen Elizabeth puppet was cartoonishly distorted, wearing both a tiara and her Balmoral scarf wrapped round her head, and often appearing quite batty, smashing a bottle over a baby's head as a matter of christening, for example, or remarking on the splendid bottoms she saw from protesters in a tour of New Zealand. After the series ended in 1996, it was rebooted in late 2020 with new puppets depicting Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. 1985, Pop Art. Andy Warhol famously said, "I want to be as famous as the Queen of England." And in 1985, the artist paid homage to the monarch within his Reigning Queen screen print series. 4 of the pieces featured Elizabeth as a two-dimensional symbol, an image based on the Peter Grugian portrait of her that was released in 1977 for her Silver Jubilee that Warhol then overlaid with his signature color blocks. Notably, Warhol gave the Queen the same artistic treatment he gave his celebrity muses like Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland, and Elvis Presley. In 2012, Queen Elizabeth seemingly embraced the now ubiquitous Warhol imagery by purchasing the 4 portraits for her royal collection and displaying them during an exhibit at Windsor Castle. 1988, spoofing the sovereign. Queen Elizabeth, as depicted by Jeanette Charles, had a key role in the first Naked Gun film, From the Files of Police Squad, as the public figure that Leslie Nielsen's Frank Drebin has to protect from an assassination attempt during the monarch's visit to Los Angeles. Among the set pieces was a sequence in which the Queen attends a baseball game, throws out the first pitch, and takes part in the wave with the stadium. The real Queen didn't make it to her first American baseball game until 1991 and sadly did not throw out the first pitch or pass a hot dog in the stands but did wear pearls. In other trivia notes, Jeanette Charles carved out a niche role for herself in the acting world because of her resemblance to the monarch, having also played her in 1985's National Lampoon's European Vacation and 2002's Austin Powers and Goldmember, among other royal-centered projects. 1988, A1 Act. Decades before The Crown tackled the Queen's betrayal by her longtime advisor Anthony Blunt, who was unmasked as a spy inside Buckingham Palace, the real-life saga was fictionalized with the 1988 Alan Bennett play A Question of Attribution. In 1992, the play was adapted into a BAFTA-winning TV special of the same name with Prunella Scales playing Her Majesty. 1992, No Longer Queen. How would the Queen have coped if she was suddenly forced to live like a normal, lower-class Brit? That's what author Sue Townsend imagined in her best-selling novel The Queen and I, concocting a scenario in which an elected People's Republican Party kicks the Windsors out of Buckingham Palace and tells them to roll up their shirt sleeves. Townsend has good fun in her political satire inventing this parallel universe in which the Queen, a workaholic, buckles down in her working-class home, learning how to budget on a state pension. King Charles, meanwhile, grows out a ponytail and goes to jail. As Liz Windsor describes her fallen state of affairs in the book, I have no money, British Telecom is threatening me with disconnection, my mother thinks she is living in 1953, my husband is starving himself to death, my daughter has embarked on an affair with my carpet fitter, my son is due in court on Thursday, and my dog has fleas. 2002, Dancing with George Michael. It may have taken animation and a George Michael music video, but the Queen finally let loose on the Buckingham Palace balcony in the video for Shoot the Dog, the protest song Michael wrote criticizing Tony Blair and George W. Bush. 2003, Johnny English saves the monarchy. The monarchy gets the full Rowan Atkinson treatment in this British spy parody. The ingenious plot involves John Malkovich getting the Queen to abdicate by threatening her corgis. A dramatic showdown erupts at Malkovich's coronation where Atkinson's title character pulls down the Archbishop of Canterbury's trousers and swings from the rafters of Westminster Abbey. In spite of the theatrics, English manages to reinstate Elizabeth as Queen. In the 2011 follow-up, Johnny English Reborn, the Queen gets another cameo when English puts her in a headlock after falsely believing she is an assassin in disguise. 2005, refused by MTV. 3 years after dancing alongside George Michael while animated, Queen Elizabeth featured in a more controversial music video for the track You Don't Know Me from the electronic duo Basement Jaxx. A QE2 impersonator leaves Buckingham Palace for a wild night on the town drinking, fighting with bouncers, tussling with a woman in an alley, enjoying a kebab, and running from police. But it is one sequence, in which the royal lookalike gropes a lap dancer, that at MTV refused to play the music video before 7 p.m. 2006, the Peter Morgan era of homage begins. The Crown screenwriter and playwright began his career imagining what happens behind closed palace doors with the 2006 biographical drama The Queen, which Morgan wrote, Stephen Frears directed, and Helen Mirren starred in as the title character. The film, which earned Mirren an Oscar and accolades from Her Majesty herself, fused fact and fiction to imagine how Queen Elizabeth privately handled Princess Diana's tragic death. Though the monarch's popularity plummeted in the wake of Diana's death, with the public decrying her reaction to the death of her former daughter-in-law as cold, Morgan masterfully managed to evoke sympathy for the stiff-lipped monarch. 2007, A Reading Royal. Author and playwright Alan Bennett, responsible for the aforementioned A Question of Attribution, revisited the Queen with his delightful 2007 novel An Uncommon Reader. Bennett uses the book to explore a parallel universe in which the Queen stumbles upon a mobile library, while chasing an errant corgi, that changes her life for the literary. The Queen suddenly becomes obsessed with the written word, recruiting a literary Buckingham Palace staffer as her guide in this new world. Binging books everything from celebrity biographies to the classics, the Queen suddenly feels for the first time in her life. According to Bennett, there was a good deal she had missed. She had been reading one of the several lives of Sylvia Plath and was actually quite happy to have missed most of that, but reading the memoirs of Lauren Bacall, she could not help feeling that Ms. Bacall had had a much better bite at the carrot and, slightly to her surprise, found herself envying her for it. 2012, Buddying Up with Bond. The Queen had more success inserting herself in pop culture in 2012, when she teamed up with Trainspotting filmmaker Danny Boyle and James Bond himself, Daniel Craig, to film a cheeky comedy sequence for the 2012 Olympics opening ceremony in London. In the Bond parody, 007 picks up Queen Elizabeth from Buckingham Palace. The Queen reportedly insisted on a speaking part before stunt actors in costume as the duo parachuted into the Olympics venue. Cameras then cut away to the actual arena, electrified by Bond's theme song blaring over the speakers, cheered loudly as Queen Elizabeth herself, escorted by Prince Philip, appeared in the VIP seats and made her grand entrance. 2012, An English Family Guy crossover. The popular American series veered into British royal territory in Season 10 with the help of guest star Cate Blanchett. In the episode, which refashioned the characters as English, Peter tries to steal a strand of the Queen's hair during a parade, mistakenly thinking that he is related to her. Blanchett voiced the monarch in the episode, which ended in poor taste, with Peter chasing the Queen to her death in a tunnel, mirroring Princess Diana's fatal car accident. 2013, The Audience. Mirren reunited with Peter Morgan for The Audience, the West End play that imagined the monarch's weekly meetings with prime ministers over the years. Mirren, who had already earned an Oscar for her portrayal of QE2, earned a Tony for this stage depiction of the monarch. These meetings that the Queen has with her prime minister every week, everybody knows they happen and nobody knows what's said, Morgan told Deadline, explaining his writing process. I thought, great, and then you've got to piece it together. Well, I know that this prime minister at this point in his term was feeling this, and if I were to set the audience at that point, it's reasonable to assume he would be euphoric or defeated or crushed or paranoid. And then, well, I know what she was doing in her life then, and, oh, that's an interesting intersect. 2014, From One Throne to Another. In 2014, the monarch blew the internet's collective mind by appearing alongside the actual Iron Throne during a canny, boosting visit to the Game of Thrones set. The Queen may have embraced the popular Emmy-winning series by making it a tour stop, but that didn't necessarily mean that the monarch had seen the show. During a later interview with Graham Norton, Jon Snow himself, Kit Harington revealed that QE2 had no clue who he was asking him, and what do you do on this production? 2015, A Cartoon Close-Up. The Queen and monarchy were recognizable enough, even to children, for Universal to hinge the high stakes of 2015's Minions on Her Majesty. Like Johnny English before it, the computer-animated film centered on the title characters stopping a villain's plot to oust the Queen from the throne. This time the baddie, Scarlet Overkill, was portrayed by Sandra Bullock, with Jennifer Saunders voicing the Queen. If nothing else, the film gave us a sequence in which the animated monarch knee-kicks a minion in a carriage while the kinks play off-screen. 2016, Winnie the Pooh meets the Queen. As luck would have it, the Queen turned 90 the same year as beloved A.A. Milne character Winnie the Pooh, a double birthday celebrated with this 2016 children's book in which Pooh travels with Christopher Robin, Eeyore, and Piglet to Buckingham Palace to see the monarch. It must be a very great thing to be 90 years old, Pooh says at one point. A sweet Queen Elizabeth A. Milne trivia note: in 1926, Milne dedicated his book of songs featuring Pooh, Teddy Bear and other songs, to the then newborn Princess Elizabeth. 2016, The Crown. Peter Morgan's lavish Netflix series, reportedly costing $130 million for 2 seasons, may be the most elaborate and detailed homage to the monarchy in the Queen's lifetime. Aided by historical and etiquette consultants to ensure the series' accuracy, the first 2 seasons were an exquisite character study of the sitting Queen, with the ruler played by Claire Foy. Storylines weaved historical public events with fictionalized personal storylines to give audiences a nuanced portrait of the ruler and her evolution across decades. Season 3 cycled ahead in time, with the ruler played by Olivia Colman as she grappled with middle age. And the most recent 4th season pivoted its focus to Princess Diana, Emma Corrin, and King Charles, Josh O'Connor, with Elizabeth taking a supporting background role on the series to make room for younger generations. 2018, Front Row at London Fashion Week. In 2018, the Queen made her first appearance at London Fashion Week, sitting alongside Anna Wintour in the front row of the final day's festivities. Wearing an ice blue suit, the Queen arrived to present the inaugural Queen Elizabeth II Award for British Design to designer Richard Quinn. Quinn later told press that the Queen showed a real interest and commented that she enjoyed the show and that the award is a great new landmark for British fashion, not only for me but for all designers coming up. After the Queen and Wintour were photographed smiling, Wintour was asked what the two had been discussing. "She and I discussed how long we've both been in our jobs," Wintour revealed. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.